Tuesday, meant the Monday. Want to do it yesterday. I got busy. I was coming back from flow and et cetera, et cetera. I got excuses. Anyways, I gave this to my high school guys yesterday. So it went pretty well. I'm gonna give it to you now. And that's right. The off season is starting for a lot of high school athletes, and obviously some of you may achieve your goals, but probably the greater majority didn't achieve whatever their goals were. And so it's like, okay, well, if we came up a little short this year, how do we plan so this doesn't happen again next year? Because no one likes coming up short of their goals. And one of the things I think about when we're talking about goal setting, because that's how we get better, right? We need a roadmap. We can't just get better from showing up and not really having any idea of what we're doing. And obviously some kids are lucky enough to be in situations where there's really good clubs around them, and hopefully their coaches are giving them good guidance, but it can still be even more effective if they're giving themselves additional guidance, or you bouncing it off their coaches, etc. So the big one I came up with was quantify. You got to quantify stuff. And if you say, I'm going to work really hard this offseason, but what are you going to do specifically? And so, there's a lot of different things here. So one could be like, hey, I'm going to make sure I go to 3 practices a week, or I'm going to do 400 hours of practice before next year, right? So you can add up your total. Again, you're quantifying what you think it's going to take to be really good. Obviously, this will also help hold you accountable. Because obviously at certain times, specifically when the season ends, we're really highly motivated, but sometimes that motivation can wane, especially during the summer. So it's like, how do you hold yourself accountable to that? How do you keep the discipline going what's up, Jason? How you doing? When the motivation wanes a little bit. Another good idea. I got so many good ideas. Right. Some people have a strength deficiency. So like making sure you don't miss any of your lifts this offseason. That's a big one. Or maybe even setting a lifting program for the first time, because some kids maybe are a little late to that ball game and they don't have a lifting program. So setting your lifting program so that's not a deficiency when you come around to next year. Another good one, setting a goal on hitting an amount of single legs or double legs or high crotch, right? Maybe you have a good single leg, but you don't have a good high crotch, right? And the way I think about wrestling is you need attacks on both sides of the body. You don't necessarily need the same attacks. I don't need to be able to shoot a high crotch both ways and a single leg both ways. If I can attack, ideally I'll get more than one, but at the beginning, obviously I got to start with one. You got to go 0 to 1 before you get to 2. You can't go 0 to 2, right? You go 0, 1, 2, 3. That's how we do this. So if, say, I attack my single leg to the right side, and I do that really well, but I can't attack the left side. Now, obviously, my opponent knows I can only go to the right side, so they can really defend that relatively, I don't want to say easily, but, if I can't attack both ways, it's hard to keep them guessing. So I was thinking, there's about 250 days until the next high school season starts, kind of 8.5 months-ish. So it's like 1,000 single legs, that would only be 4 a day. That's nothing. It's literally nothing. So something like, hey, I'm going to hit 10,000 single legs this offseason. That's 40 a day. I mean, if we're talking to just drilling single legs, boom, getting the motion down, boom, single leg. I mean, 40 a day, that's going to take you, 3 to 5 minutes after practice every single day. I know a couple of kids I had doing down a stance in motion, right? Because their stance in motion wasn't that good. So every single day after practice, 6 minutes stance in motion, boom, hit it every single day, because that's one of the areas you need to focus on. I know for me, a big one actually in 2007 to 8, when it was the Olympic year, was down blocks, right? I sucked at down blocks. I was so reliant on scrambling in college. It was an element of my game I really needed to add in order to reach that next level in freestyle wrestling. So I did them every single day to start practice with down block obedience and actually clinch position too. So that was a big one. So, right, you guys can pick what you need to work on, and obviously, maybe ask your coach for some guidance or for some help, and hey, where are my deficiencies? What do you think could be the most effective tactic for me to drill? Is it bottom? Is it top? Some of you guys, I know I used this with a few athletes I was coaching. I was coaching college, but maybe the gas tanks aren't great. And one of the things with not having a great gas tank is you could obviously get in better shape. That's definitely a great tactic, but also a big part of it is like learning how to compete when you're tired. And so you could maybe do a really long go, like, hey, I'm going to do a 45-minute go once a week or an hour go, right? And then your body learns to compete when it's tired, So when you do get tired in matches, it's not as big of a deal because you understand what that feels like. It's not that big of a deal to you. So I gave you a whole bunch of ideas, but I can tell you almost for sure, not 100% for sure, but if you don't have some way to quantify your goals, if you can't put something on paper and say, I'm going to do this, this, and this. Now, listen, I don't want you to make a list of 27 things. It's too many. I want you to make a list of like 3 or 4 really important things. Like, hey, I'm going to go to practice. I'm going to average 3.5 practices a week this off season, right? That's one goal. I'm going to work on my single leg every day after practice. Boom, there's 2 goals. I'm going to not miss any lifts. There's 3 goals. If you do those 3 things, man, it's going to go a long ways to getting you a lot better, right? So quantify things. Jason, yeah, stamina would be, I mean, long goes because then your body learns how to deal with that, right? Because at the end of the day, people have this notion that you can get in such good shape you don't get tired in a wrestling match. That's just not true. If you wrestle hard, you're going to get tired. And so obviously you can get in better shape, but even if you're in better shape, you're still going to get tired. So learning how to deal with competing while you're tired it's very important skill to have. And so then the last thing I'll like, hey, understand yourself and understand if this is something you handle by yourself. And if not, buddy up, right? Find a partner and say, hey, here's my goals. Here's what I want to do. Can you help me? And then you help him, right? And obviously you can do things alone if you have to, but it's definitely less than ideal. Jason, I wouldn't, obviously you can't work on stamina without a partner. Go find a partner to wrestle with. So I mean, running is of minimal help because it's just not the same cardio as CrossFit is probably more similar to wrestling, but nothing is really wrestling as wrestling is. So you got to wrestle. It's just different. So what I was saying, buddy up, right? Create a system to hold yourself accountable to your goals. If you can't do them yourself, and that's fine. Listen, a lot of we all need friends, we all need partners, and not everyone has to do this alone. Although unfortunately some of you might, but a lot of you don't have to do it. You can find 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 guys who have really high level goals like yourself and use that to make yourself better. So that's what I got for today. Try to quantify your goals. That's going to be the most efficient way to make sure you accomplish them and hold yourself accountable and create that discipline when the motivation wanes a little bit. So that's what I got for today. Peace. Hope you guys enjoyed it. You guys can visit us, awa.com. We got summer camps on there. And Jesse, go buy discs, discraft.com, I believe sells discs. And then all of our technique videos, Wrestling Fanatics.